doing it for you, but I lost you instead. The cock crows in the stillness of dawn. Smoke rises slowly from a thatched kitchen hut. A rooster scratches the sandy ground outside a small mud brick home with rusting zinc roofing. This is where Adaeze, 28 years old, lives with her family. Adaeze is a striking woman, tall, graceful, with eyes that shine with warmth. But her true beauty lies not in her appearance, but in her heart. Every day, her life revolves around her husband and three children. Her husband, Chukwudi, is a village school teacher. His salary is just 30,000 naira a month, barely enough to feed the family. Yet he is a man of wisdom and patience, respected by the villagers for his honesty. Inside the house, Adaeze moves quickly, waking her children. Chioma, Emeka, Nkechi, get up, my darlings, a new day has come. Chioma, the eldest at 10, is already mature beyond her years. She helps her mother fetch water, sweep the yard, and prepare her younger siblings for school. She is intelligent, always top of her class, and Adaeze dreams that one day she'll become a doctor. Emeka is 7 years old, has endless energy. He loves football more than anything, often running around barefoot with a ball made from old rags. Though mischievous, he has a good heart. And then there is Nkechi, only 4, the youngest and sweetest. She clings to her mother's wrapper everywhere, following Adaeze like a little shadow. If Adaeze laughs, she laughs. If Adaeze frowns, she frowns. That morning, Adaeze cooks a simple meal of pap and akara. The aroma fills the small room. The children gather, their eyes bright, though the food is plain. They eat together, laughing, teasing each other, and Chukwudi watches with pride. Later, as Adaeze braids Chioma's hair, she hums an old Igbo lullaby her own mother once sang to her. The sound carries through the compound, soft and comforting, as if it has the power to protect her children from the world's hardships. At night, when the kerosene lamp flickers, and the rest of the family is asleep, Adaeze bent over her children's uniforms, patching holes with careful stitches. The school fees are always a struggle, but she does not complain. She believes her children deserve every chance, and if it means she eats less or goes without new clothes. One night, as she sews by candlelight, Chukwudi looks at her quietly. Then he says, his voice full of love, "Ada, you are the heart of the family. Our children are blessed to have you." She smiles, tired but content. For Adaeze, being a mother is her entire identity. She measures her success not by money but by the laughter of her children, the comfort of her husband, the closeness of their small but happy home. But life has a way of testing even the strongest hearts. One afternoon, the village comes alive with visitors. Madam Ngozi, a wealthy businesswoman, has returned for her mother's burial. Cars with tinted windows line the dusty road, and the villagers whisper about her wealth. At the market, Adaeze is selling vegetables when Madam Ngozi notices her. Unlike many others, Adaeze speaks with confidence, explaining prices and weighing produce with intelligence. Madam Ngozi is impressed. She calls Adaeze aside. "You are smart. Too smart to be here. Come to Lagos, be my assistant. 300,000 naira every month. I will give you an apartment. Your children will go to the best schools. They will eat well. They will have the life you never had." When Adaeze tells her husband, he's shocked. 300,000 naira a month. That is 10 times his own salary. He sits quietly, thinking, before he finally says, "Ada, maybe this is God's blessing. Our children deserve more than we can give them here. Go and make the sacrifice for them." Adaeze hesitates. She looks at Chioma. The little girl asks softly, "Mama, will you come home every weekend?" Adaeze pulls her close and whispers, "Every 2 weeks, my daughter. Mama will never abandon you." But when the day of departure comes, the house is filled with tears. The children cling to her legs. Little Nkechi cries loudly, "Don't go, Mama." Adaeze's heart is breaking, but she forces herself to leave. In her mind, she repeats the words over and over, "I am doing this for them." A good mother sacrifices for her children. With that thought, she bought the bus to Lagos towards a future that would change everything. 6 months had passed since Adaeze left her quiet village behind. Lagos, with all its lights and noise, had swallowed her whole. In those 6 months, she had transformed completely. At Madame Ngozi's company, she rose quickly. She was sharp, organized, and elegant in a way that made people notice her. Madame Ngozi often praised her, saying, "Adaeze, you are a rare gem. Women like you belong in the city, not in a dusty village." Every month, Adaeze sent 100,000 naira home. The children were now attending a private school in town. Their meals had improved, their uniforms were neat, and even the neighbors whispered with envy, "Ah, Adaeze is doing well in Lagos." She told herself she was still keeping her promise. She visited home, yes, but now it was once every 3 weeks instead of every 2 weeks. Each time she arrived with bags of provisions, gifts, and money, the children would hug her tightly. But before their joy could settle, she was gone again, back to Lagos. "I'm doing this for them," she would remind herself whenever guilt crept in. One day they will understand. One evening, Madame Ngozi invited Adaeze to a high society party. The music was loud, the glasses clinked, and the men and women were dressed in wealth. Adaeze, in a borrowed designer dress, looked every bit the city woman. That night, Madame Ngozi introduced her to Chief Okafor, a wealthy oil businessman with a large stomach, heavy gold rings, and a booming laugh. He looked at Adaeze with interest. Within days, he called her with an offer. "Leave this assistant work. Come to my company. I will pay you 900,000 every month, plus bonuses. You will travel with me. You will be respected." The figure shocked her. 900,000 naira. What? Almost three times what she was earning already. But there was a catch. The work required constant travel. No more weekend visits. No more promises to the children. That same week, Chioma called her mother on the phone, her voice trembling. "Mama, my birthday is next Saturday. I told all my friends you are coming. You promised." Adeze's heart softened. She remembered braiding Chioma's hair by candlelight. She remembered her promise. But Chief had already booked her for a business trip to Abuja that same weekend. "This is business," he told her firmly. "If you want to grow, you must learn to sacrifice. Do you want to succeed or remain small forever?" Confused, Adaeze called Chukwudi. His voice carried pain. "Ada, come home. Our daughter doesn't need phones or gifts. She needs her mother. What is money without love?" But Adaeze silenced her conscience. On the morning of Chioma's birthday, she boarded the flight to Abuja. She sent expensive gifts instead. An iPhone, new shoes, a gown. Back home, Chioma wore her new dress proudly, but kept looking at the door all day, waiting for her mother to arrive. When the cake was cut, she could not hold her tears. That night, Adaeze called. The phone was picked up, but Chioma did not speak. Only her soft sobs filled the background. Adaeze turned her face away, whispering to herself, "She will understand when she grows older. I am building her future." 1 year passed. Adaeze was now unrecognizable. She wore Brazilian wigs, diamond earrings, and designer handbags. Her apartment in Lagos was spacious, filled with furniture she once only saw in magazines. Chief Okafor continued making advances. Though she resisted, she enjoyed the attention, the comfort, and the luxury he offered. Her visit home reduced to once every 2 or 3 months. She convinced herself that sending money was enough. One afternoon, Chief made her a bold proposal. "Be my partner in this new oil venture. You will not just earn salary, you will earn millions. But at Adaeze, you must always be available. This is not just business. I need you beside me, personally." Adaeze froze. "But I'm married. I have children." Chief laughed loudly. "Your husband, that poor school teacher. What can he give your children? Poverty. I can give them real futures. Travel abroad, the best schools, wealth. Think carefully." Back in Enugu, disaster struck. Emeka, now 8, fell gravely ill with malaria. His fever was so high he could barely speak. At one point, he collapsed in the schoolyard. Neighbors rushed him to the local hospital. Chukwudi called Adaeze, his voice filled with fear. "Ada, our son is dying. Please come home." Adaeze looked at her calendar. Chief had just arranged a crucial meeting with foreign investors. Cancelling would mean losing his trust and possibly her position. Her heart raced. She thought of Emeka shivering in fever. She thought of the millions Chief promised. And then she chose. She stayed. She wired money to the hospital for better drugs, but did not travel home. Emeka almost lost his life that week. Chukwudi, overwhelmed, sat by his son's bed through the night alone, whispering prayers, while Adaeze attended banquets in Lagos, smiling through her guilt. Not long after, the final blow came. Chukwudi called again, but his tone was no longer pleading. It was firm. Ada, I'm filing for a divorce. The children need stability. You've made your choice. Adaeze panicked. You can't take my children from me. Chukwudi's reply cut deep. You already left them. I'm only making it official. Then Choma took the phone, her voice once tender, now burned with anger. Mama, don't come back. You chose money. We don't want you anymore. That night, Adeze's tears stained the papers as she signed Chief's contract. She became his mistress officially, agreeing to the partnership that made her rich. In exchange, she quietly signed away custody of her children to avoid any scandal that could ruin her rising reputation. She walked away with 5 million naira in her account, but her children's love had already slipped forever from her hands. Adaeze told herself through her sobs, now I will have enough money to win them back. One day they will understand. But deep inside, something had already broken beyond repair. 5 years had passed. Adaeze was no longer the simple village woman who once cooked pap and akara over a fire. She had become the Lagos society woman people whispered about. She lived in a glittering mansion in Ikoyi, its tall white gates guarded by security men. Inside, marble floors stretched across vast living rooms. Chandeliers sparkled like falling stars. Outside, a brand new Range Rover sat in the driveway, polished until it shone. Her business empire, built through Chief Okafor's connections, was now worth over 50 million naira. She had everything she once thought she wanted. Designer clothes lined her wardrobe, shoes in neat rows, expensive perfumes in crystal bottles. But there was one thing Adaeze no longer had, her family. Every month she sent gifts, iPhones, expensive dresses, brand new laptops, cartons of foods, and every month those gifts were returned unopened. She tried calling, but her numbers were blocked on all three children's phones. She begged Chukwudi, but he too refused her calls. News traveled back to her through neighbors. Chukwudi had remarried. His new wife, Obioma, was gentle and kind. She loved the children as her own. And soon, Chioma, Emeka, and Nkechi began calling her Mama. At first, Adaeze laughed bitterly. They will come back. One day they will say I did it all for them. But as time passed, laughter turned into silence, and silence into tears. The society parties could not fill the emptiness inside her. Yes, people clinked glasses around her. Yes, men admired her beauty. Women envied her clothes. But when the music ended, Adaeze went home to an empty bed. She began sleeping in her children's old clothes, Chioma's school uniform shirt, Emeka's worn football jersey, little Nkechi's faded pink dress. At night, she drank glass after glass of wine, scrolling through old family photos until her eyes blurred with tears. Her friends cared only for her money and connections. The moment she stopped paying for their champagne or sponsoring their trips, they vanished. Even Chief Okafor, who once promised her love, treated her like property. He never divorced his wife, as he once whispered he would. To him, Adaeze was not a partner, just another jewel in his collection. But the breaking point came one quiet night when she opened Facebook on her phone. There it was, a post from Chioma, now 17 years old, a single photo. Obioma sitting on a low stool, gently braiding Nkechi's hair. It was the exact same way Adaeze used to do it. And beneath the photo, Chioma's words cut like a knife. Blessed to have a mother like Obioma, who chose us over everything. Real mothers stay. Adaeze dropped her phone. Her chest tightened as if the world itself had collapsed on her. She wailed, clutching the screen to her heart. That night, she cried until dawn. For the first time, she admitted to herself all her riches meant nothing. She had lost the one thing that truly mattered. The following month, news reached her that her own mother had died. The woman who raised her, who once praised her as a devoted wife and mother, was gone. Adaeze returned to the village for the burial. For 5 years, she had not stepped foot in Enugu. As she entered the compound, people stared. Some whispered, others shook their heads, and then she saw them, her children. Chioma, now 17, stood tall and graceful, her face hardened by responsibility. She looked at Adaeze once, then turned away without a word. Emeka, 14, strong and tall like his father, glanced at her briefly before turning his back. Nkechi, just 11, stared blankly and tugged Obioma's hand. Who is that woman? She asked innocently. The words sliced through Adaeze's heart. During the burial, an elder gave a tribute. His words fell heavy in the air. Mama Adaeze was a true mother. When her daughter abandoned her grandchildren for Lagos money, she stepped in. She raised them with love. Adaeze bowed her head in shame. Her own mother had gone to the grave believing she was a failure. Later, Chukwudi approached her quietly. His eyes carried sorrow, not anger. Ada, he said softly, you were the best mother once, but then you forgot something. Children need presence, not presents. They needed you, not your money. Tears rolled down her face. She tried to speak, but no words came. As she looked around, she saw Bioma gently comforting little Nkechi, singing the same lullaby Adaeze once sang. Choma helped the women prepare food, moving with the grace of a mother. Emeka stood protectively by his sisters, carrying the strength of a father. It struck Adaeze like a thunderbolt. She had abandoned her role, and others had stepped into it. Her children no longer needed her. In that moment, Adaeze finally understood what she had destroyed. After her mother's burial, Adaeze could no longer bear the weight of her guilt. She saw clearly now that wealth had given her nothing but loneliness. One morning, she made the boldest decision of her life. She walked away from Chief Okafor and his millions. She resigned from every business venture, handed back the keys to her luxury apartment, and sold her Range Rover. With the little savings she had left, she returned to Enugu and rented a small house just 2 streets away from her children. Her plan was simple: to rebuild, to prove she could still be their mother. She started gently. She waited outside their school, hoping to surprise them as they came out. But when Chioma, Emeka, and Nkechi walked past, they did not even greet her. They looked straight ahead, their faces hard, as though she were invisible. She wrote long handwritten letters, pages filled with apologies and promises. She slipped them under their door. Days later, the letters came back, sealed in an envelope, untouched. Once she gathered courage and went directly to their home. She stood by the gate, her heart pounding. It was Obioma who came out. Her voice was calm but firm. Adaeze, please leave. The children are healing. Don't open old wounds. Adaeze begged, tears streaming down her face, but Obioma shook her head, gently shutting the gate. It was Chioma who finally confronted her one Sunday evening. The teenager's eyes burned with years of disappointment. You want to be our mother now? Chioma's voice was steady, but every word struck like a knife. Where were you when Emeka woke up crying from nightmares, calling your name? Where were you when Papa struggled to pay fees alone? Where were you on Nkechi's first day of secondary school? You left us, Mama. You chose money. Live with that choice. Adaeze collapsed on her knees weeping, but the blows weren't finished. For the first time Emeka spoke, his voice was low, almost cold. You taught me what kind of parent not to be. Thank you for that lesson. And little Nkechi, innocent and curious, tilted her head and asked softly, are you the woman who used to be our mama? Mama Obioma said you had important business. Is your business finished now? Those words cut deeper than any knife. The child who once clung to her wrapper now no longer recognized her. Adaeze returned to her small house that night, broken, trembling, crushed by the weight of her choices. Still, Adaeze refused to give up. For 6 long months, she tried to win her children back. She attended every school event, hiding in the crowd, but they ignored her completely. She sent birthday gifts and cards, but they never opened them. She even volunteered at their school, cleaning classrooms and serving food to pupils just to be close to them. So the principal politely told her not to come again at the children's request. Finally, she went to Chukwudi and fell at his feet. Please give me another chance. I would do anything. But his voice was calm, almost gentle. Ada, I forgave you long ago, but forgiveness is not the same as trust. The children are the ones you hurt. Only they can decide if they want you. Those words stayed with her like a wound that refused to heal. The final rejection came at Chioma's secondary school graduation. Adaeze stood at the back of the hall, uninvited, clutching a gift envelope. Chioma, tall and radiant in her gown, walked up to the podium. Her speech was powerful. I want to thank my father who never gave up on me, and my mother Obioma who chose to love us when someone else chose to leave. They taught me that real wealth is not money, it is family. Adaeze's heart shattered. Her name was never mentioned. After the ceremony, she approached Chioma timidly, holding out the scholarship fund she had secretly arranged. My daughter, take this. It will help you in university. But Choma shook her head firmly. I don't need your money. I earned my own scholarship through hard work like Papa taught me. And she walked away without looking back. The pain didn't end there. At Emeka's football championship, Adaeze stood at the far edge of the field, hidden in the crowd. She watched as her son, tall and strong, scored the winning goal. The crowd erupted in cheers. His teammates lifted him high on their shoulders. She clapped silently, tears streaming down her face. She remembered the night she once told him, Emeka, you'll be the best footballer one day. Now that day had come, but she was not part of his joy, not as his mother, not even as a spectator he recognized. Later, she heard the announcer praise him, Emeka the rising star, dedicated his win to his parents, Mr. Chukwudi and Mrs. Obioma. Not once did he glance towards her. That night, Adaeze sat in her small empty house. She stared at her hands, trembling. Her children had grown without her. Their milestone had passed without her. The love she once thought unshakable had been transferred to another woman. For the first time in her life, she admitted the full truth. She had lost it all, not because of poverty, not because of faith, but because of her own choices. And no amount of money, no mansion, no car, no gift could ever buy back what she had thrown away. The sun rose over Enugu like any other day, but inside her Adaeze's small rented house, time felt frozen. She sat on a wooden chair, staring at the faded family photograph she had carried for years. The faces in it, Chukwudi, Chioma, Emeka, and little Nkechi, smiled brightly, untouched by the storms that would come. Now, those same children were almost grown, and their smiles no longer belonged to her. In the months that followed, Adaeze became like a shadow in her own town. She walked the dusty roads past schools and playgrounds, watching from a distance. She saw Choma in her neat uniform, carrying books with confidence. She saw Emeka training on the football field, his strength and speed praised by coaches. She saw Nkechi walking hand in hand with Obioma, laughing as though nothing in the world had ever gone wrong. Each sight was both a comfort and a wound. Comfort because they were thriving, wound because she was no longer part of their story. All night she prayed, Lord, give me one more chance. Let them call me Mama again, even once. But silence was the only answer. One evening, the village square was buzzing. News spread that Chioma had gained admission into university on full scholarship. The entire community celebrated. Women danced, men clapped, and neighbors praised Chukwudi and Obioma for raising such a brilliant child. Adaeze watched from a corner, unseen, tears streaming down her face. She had always dreamed Chioma would rise high, but the victory did not belong to her. Later, she walked home slowly, her legs heavy. She thought of all the promises she had once made, to always be there, to never abandon them, to sacrifice for their future. But in chasing riches, she had broken every vow. And now the children's success was proof they no longer needed her at all. That night, Adaeze opened her trunk of belongings. Inside were all the things she had carried from her wealthy Lagos life, jewelry boxes, silk gowns, perfume bottles, designer bags. She touched them one by one, but they all felt like ashes in her hands. At the very bottom of the trunk lay her children's old clothes, the little pink dress Nkechi once wore, Emeka's torn football jersey, Choma's cool blouse with faded buttons. She clutched them to her chest and wept bitterly. What use is wealth when the arms I long for will never hold me again? She whispered into the night. One Sunday, she gathered courage to attend church. As the choir sang, she saw her children sitting at the front with Chukwudi and Obioma. They looked radiant, full of joy. She tried to hold their gaze, but none of them looked her way. When service ended, she stepped outside and watched them walk together. Obioma holding Nkechi's hand, Chioma leading the way, Emeka protecting his sisters. A perfect family picture, but one that no longer included her. Adaeze stood frozen, tears sliding silently down her cheeks, and in that moment she realized her story was no longer about regaining what she had lost. It was about warning others not to make the same mistake. Moral lesson. All parents, listen carefully. Money can buy clothes, houses, and cars, but it cannot buy love. It cannot buy trust. It cannot buy the sound of your child calling you mama with joy. Children do not remember the gifts you gave them. They remember the nights you wiped their tears, the days you held their hands, the hours you spent by their side. Presence is greater than presence. A good parent's true wealth is not in banks, not in cars, not in lands. It's in the love of their children, the unity of family, the bond of home. Do not trade your children's love for riches, because once it is lost, some doors can never be opened again. And so Adaeze learned too late that love once neglected may never return. Her story is a reminder. No riches can replace family. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more emotional African stories and let me know in the comments your thoughts and where you're watching from. Your support keeps the stories alive.